All right, so let's get down to the business of it. This will be the conversation that a lot of people have been talking about, Ezekiel Elliott versus Jalen Ramsey, since he's been on the Pivot podcast. Appreciate Ryan Clark for that beautiful platform of talking, giving people chances and opportunity to talk, especially with the athletes or what have you. So let's listen to Jalen Ramsey, and for context, we're going to play the full clip, and then we're going to go over this.
It's safety, though. And even though I didn't really want to play safety, I just wanted to be the first defensive player off the board.
Right.
That's where I wanted to initially go, just because of that simple fact. Because at the time, that was like before Miles, the report came out that Miles Jack's knee was hurt, because he was in that conversation too. It was like Miles Jack, Jalen Smith, Joey Bosa, and myself were like in that conversation. Who's gonna be the first defensive player taken off the board?
So he's talking about who will be the first defensive guy off the board. You know, at that time, of course, we did get a chance to draft Jalen Smith right in the second round, and he was sought to be one of the better defensive players coming out of the 2016 draft. And, of course, Miles Jack and Bosa. Now, Jalen Ramsey, we were all banging on the table trying to smash that thing in half, saying, hey, you got to draft Jalen Ramsey. But here's the thing. Ezekiel Elliott was drafted not for Dak Prescott. I want you guys to understand that. Ezekiel Elijah Elliott was not drafted for Dak Prescott. He was drafted for Tony Romo. They wanted to replicate what they did in 2014 with DeMarco Murray, but with a better running back. Let's listen.
And I just wanted to be, that was really the only reason. But if it didn't happen, I'm like, yo, I always grew up a Dallas Cowboys fan, really, like Titans and Cowboys.
Right.
So if I go forward, that's like for real dream come true. And I remember when I was on my visit to Dallas, they told me, like straight up to my face, like, if you there at 4, we taking you. It was like, we don't think you're gonna be there at 4. They said, we think they're gonna get you at 3, but if you there at 4, if you on that board, we taking you. And I thought where it was bond, I'm like, I'm gone then. If I'm there at 4, I'm there. Jacksonville didn't think I was gonna be there at 5, because I remember sitting in the GM office in my Jacksonville visit, and he said, he asked me, he said, you think you're gonna be there at 5? I said, nah, respectfully, nah, I don't think we'll be
Right. Right.
He said, me either. He said, it's tough to trade up, but we may try.
Right.
I was like, all right.
So you knew you weren't falling past Jacksonville, though?
Nah, no chance.
Right.
No chance. But if it came down to it, I was hoping that I thought of 6, because that was the Ravens. And, they got the defensive mindset, so they was like, dang. But no, I knew I wasn't going. I really didn't think I was going to fall past 4. After the Cowboys told me that, I'm like, man, 4 for sure. Like,
Right.
There's 2 things that I have to bring to the table, Cowboy Nation. Ezekiel Elliott with 2 NFL rushing titles. The aspect of the way you have to take an approach for Ezekiel Elliott on the field is nothing to sneeze at. On top of that, Cowboy Nation, think about this. A young quarterback always need a nice running back that can help you out. And we can go all the way back. I recall Marshall Faulk with Peyton Manning, and then Marshall Faulk had to leave, and then they got Adrian James. So Adrian James was able to help out. Oh, Emmitt Smith to Troy Aikman. We know that there's always a running back to help the quarterback, especially when they are young. But neither here nor there. The Dallas Cowboys, they drafted Ezekiel Elliott for Tony Romo, not for Dak Prescott. It just worked out. And on top of that, Dak Prescott was given the ball and never gave it back. He never gave it back to Tony Romo. Now, before you guys go back and forth and say, man, the philosophy of the DB lasts for 10 years and the average span of a running back is 3 to 4 years, 3 years being elite. And then after that, you see the droppage of the ability to run outside of Adrian Peterson and maybe some other running backs like LaDainian Tomlinson. And we can go back and forward to talk about after 3 years. Think about this: Saquon Barkley, Todd Gurley, Christian McCaffrey, all of those guys, pretty much. Now, Christian McCaffrey may have a chance to prove it this year, but outside of that, Saquon Barkley, man, he looking like a shell of himself after the injury, of course. So we get it. And then Todd Gurley, he disappeared just like that. So elite running backs tend to last for only 3 years. And after that, they may go from elite to being just above average, and then right after just being just above average, they drop to average, and then they disappear. They flat out disappear. That is just the lifestyle of a running back in the National Football League. But Ezekiel Elliott is multiple issues. One being the personality complex that we didn't see as relates to Roger Goodell's putting his fingers all into the mix. And that's just how the Cowboys operate, right? Yeah, you always going to get cast aspersions and so on. You're always going to get sullied or what have you. And that's a story of a different day. Ezekiel Elliott, the changing of the philosophy of the offense. Ezekiel Elliott, first 3 years was amazing with the Cowboys. One can argue first 4. And when you look at it, the first 4 years, Jason Garrett, old school mentality, going back to, hey, we're going to run. I know what works with this style and caliber of offense. Think about this. And you get rid of Jason Garrett and you hire his son, basically, Kellen Moore, who's more of a hybrid style of Jason Garrett / Scott Linehan. Same principles, right? But he refuses to run because he don't know how to operate and run. And between that time frame, and these are not excuses, Cowboy Nation, you also lose out on your offensive line, diminishing rates. Travis Frederick, out of the blue, said, hey, I retire. Of course, he was battling that situation with the autoimmune disease, but he retired. You lose out on the healthy Tyron Smith, who's been here for almost a decade now. So you lose out on a lot of things, Cowboy Nation, and you have to replenish that. And the philosophy is gone. The knowledge to run the ball when is gone. You got literally Kellen Moore, who's going into his 4th year ever calling plays, now supposed to draw up and design plays for, dare I say, Ezekiel Elliott coming out of the backfield. No, he don't know what to do with Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott. But going back to what Jalen Ramsey said about the Jacksonville Jaguars, if they were wise, right, and they knew that they love Ezekiel Elliott, they could have held the Jacksonville Jaguars' feet to the fire. And they could have said, hey, we're picking Jalen Ramsey. Come hell or high water, we're picking Jalen Ramsey, knowing the other teams would love to have Jalen Ramsey, and allow them to trade up and move up to that spot. And you could have got multiple other draft picks in return, right, for them moving up that one little spot. Believe it or not, we've seen crazier things happen. But since we wear our hearts on our sleeves, we showcase and we broadcast to the world our directions. A lot of people already knew that the Dallas Cowboys were going to draft Ezekiel Elliott. It wasn't an element of surprise because they show their hand. Now, hopefully down the course of the line, the Cowboys can get better in that look. But history shows that they kind of show their hand. But I come here to tell you guys on this topic. Ezekiel Elliott was good for us then, and Jalen Ramsey will be good for us now. That's the reality of it. Ezekiel Elliott was good for us then, and Jalen Ramsey will be good for us now. But we'll have to figure this thing out with Ezekiel Elliott.
Cowboys fans, I got to weigh in on that pick. I love Ezekiel Elliott, and I know what they're thinking. All right. If we could get somebody that resembles Emmitt Smith, can catch the ball out of the backfield and run inside and outside and keep the defense off the field, then we all right. But this is my dilemma. The teams that have gone to the Super Bowl and fared well, they got there by defense. And you have an opportunity to get a real corner, a corner that comes around every so often. And you pass that up. See, that's one of those guys that is really gonna change the game. That's what I feel. I don't know about that one, Cowboys. Truth.
Now, at the end of the day, don't be prisoners of the moment. I get it. Jalen Ramsey got the Super Bowl ring, and this is his second team. It's not like the Jacksonville Jaguars. He won the Super Bowl with them. No, he had to get traded to do such. They went all in. The Rams went all in to get him. But to that degree, I'm quite sure if you pick Ezekiel Elliott up and you place him on the 49ers, right, behind Kyle Shanahan and his system, we wouldn't have this conversation, right? And that's the reality of it. Sometimes players go to a certain team that know how to utilize their skill set. And I'm quite sure even with Jalen Ramsey, if he was in this current system, or even if he was in the system when Chris Richard came, right? They immediately said, Byron Jones, you're using him wrong. You got to put him at cornerback. And just like that, Byron Jones excelled. Made all pro. Oh, got his bag down there in Miami land, right? What happened? What changed? Oh, coach put him in a nice role. It's all about scheme, baby. It's all about who you're coach and where you are being placed. So I go back to tell this. Ezekiel Elliott was good for us then, and Jalen Ramsey will be good for us now. In order for Ezekiel Elliott to be back good for us now, we have to re-solidify that offensive line and get a coach in here that knows how to call running plays. That's been my time. I really thank you all for yours. And remember, you're listening to nothing but the best. Go Cowboys.